Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the OTG podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Zay B.
Guy,
Man,
my guy.
what's going on? And today I have with me the one and only Jay Vasquez, a repeat offender, man. Y'all know him.
Repeat offender's crazy. Repeat offender's crazy. Yeah, no, glad to be back, bro. Feel like home every time I'm here, man. It's cozy. Love
Good,
it,
bro.
love it, love it, love it. Glad
How,
to be back.
how you been? What's been going on? We just finished South by.
South by, man, it was insane. Been performing even before then. 6 shows in for the year, first quarter of the
You've
year.
been busy.
So I've been moving, bro. It's funny, all the shit that I was talking about in the first episode, like me wanting to do, I really took to action and been doing that. So, just been on the ground, meeting people in public, performing, um, still making music and have music in between that's already ready. Kind of just formulating a plan on what's next and what I feel most excited about. So, just kind of in a weird limbo mode when it comes to trying to figure all that out. But I think right now my primary focus is just performing, being out in front of people and just that reaction. There's just nothing like, you know, somebody telling you how they feel in person about what you do.
What you just did or your performance.
Yeah, so
Like,
I'm loving that right now.
I think the dope thing about live performances too is like, I feel like that's when you can really make a fan out of somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've always felt like that formula, just in general, one thing leads to another with that. So you can do one show, whether it's, 5, 10 minute set. If you kill that 5 to 10 minutes and you get, there's, 30 people and you get 10 of them, that's a W.
That's
That's a W. And then you don't know out of those 10 people who has connections with who really like, you can change somebody's whole energy and belief about what you do just off performing and really doing it in their face. So there could be a motherfucker that's willing to sponsor you or, help you get to where you're trying to get to or have connections and avenues that you may not have. And they feel the need to give them to you based off of what you just did. So that's fire. And that's been happening a lot too. That happened with Southwire. The did a show Friday. Come Sundays, there's a South by request, and okay, let's do it. It made sense. Why not? So yeah, it's just one thing leads to another, and I love it. I love it. That's my bread and butter right now. It's kind of just perfecting that craft. And it's like film, bro. I literally study it. Okay, I like what I did here. Don't like that. Let's do this. And it's the homies are doing it consistently too. So it's like the fact that everybody's moving the same amount of effort and we're all kind of moving pieces. It feels good. It feels real good.
and you mentioned the homies. You have like a wonderful tribe around you,
Yeah.
right? I've had the pleasure of meeting two people. Actually, I met
A couple.
a couple.
Yeah.
I've always known Kush. Um,
Yeah.
I met Stilo at your album release,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
I didn't know he was like your producer. Like we just had like a
Mhm.
cool little conversation, like 5, 10. It was nothing too major, but I ended up getting to chop it up with him, and then Savannah and Lily.
Yeah.
You got a nice little tribe there,
Yeah.
and how does that help, the creativity process?
Seeing them do what they do is just, I mean, this shit is motivation like on depressing days. Like there's a old Logic song that I was actually just listening to, and I can't remember what song it is, but there's a line that he says that, seeing his team move a certain way or people that he loves move a certain way, it motivates him on depressing days, and that's the same thing for me. I feel like it's a must for me to have people around me that either are like-minded or are goal oriented in the same facet as me. So to have them is a blessing. And I have what's crazy is I have unique relationships with each individual person that's different in its own way. Um, but the goal and the overall feeling is always the same. It's like, all right, how can we be better? The music is the main focus. Let's do that. And I try to just take that and allow it to be the fuel to continue to do what I do, even on days when I don't feel like doing it anymore. I think about those people that you just mentioned and a few others, and it just keeps me grounded, keeps me present.
That's beautiful. So about like speaking into the tribe, as I was doing my homework and I was kind of like learning some more about you,
Mhm.
you and Stilo, that's your best friend.
Yeah.
Um, and throughout the documentary,
Hmm.
one of the things that spoke to me the most was your relationship with his son.
Hmm.
Me as an uncle, me as I love each one of my nieces and nephews, do anything for them. You know,
Hmm.
you and your nephew have a very unique relationship.
Yeah. It's looking in the mirror. It's really looking in the mirror, and I think the more and more I think about me and Lowe's relationship, I think it was important that we be in each other's lives for that reason. And it's just kind of I needed that outside perspective for the reflection of me and betterment of me, just to um not only guide in a way that because he always asked me, different questions that pertain and how how I felt at this time when I was going through this, did I have something similar? If there was a way that it, made me feel, how can I prevent that? Just kind of, you know, um, again, as a guidance aspect, I feel like I'm there for a reason. And then even just with my nephew himself, it's just kind of like, it just makes me realize a lot. Like, damn, okay, you're not the only person out here
That has to.
that's going through some shit. So it just makes it all that much bigger and better to continue to do what I do, you know. And for him to be cognitive of what we're doing and seeing it, every time I come over, it's like, oh, okay, Uncle Jay's here to do music with Dad. Like,
That's live.
yeah. So like, or there, if I'm there, like he knows, okay, Dad's going to do something. They're going to hit the road to do something. So it's just exciting for him to be able to be a part of what's going on and just be present. And so, um, I'm super thankful for Lo for allowing me to have that access, because he didn't have to do that, you know, by any means. So just being a part and being that present is a gift.
I don't think people realize that. Like, as much as um, I made a lot of mistakes in life, as do a lot of people.
Right.
Um, but once my peers, my friends, I won't just say peers, but my friends started having kids.
Hmm.
Like a lot of them, they still did allow me to be
Right.
a big part in their life, and like it's very evident. Like if I get on FaceTime, if I were to call my homie now,
Yeah.
his son's gonna go Uncle Zay and try to like two of
Yeah.
them guaranteed their sons will hear my voice and come take the phone from their dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like that relationship, and I'm a huge Jay Z fan.
Yeah.
Um, if you know the verse from anything, dear
Uh.
nephew, I'm writing this
Yeah.
verse, no
Yeah.
pen or pad, and and like that verse always plays in my head when
Hmm.
it comes to like my nephews. Granted, I don't got no kids, so
Right. Right.
that's where a lot of my love goes to. So that's a blessing that you guys are
Yeah, I
having a
think too,
relationship.
it's like for me, my dad always had my uncles around. And I remember those memories of like, oh, I can remember, I could tell you where we were at, what we were doing. So it's like to have those core memories also with him. But like now I'm in that position to, like, shit, I remember getting picked up from school by my dad and my uncles with him. And like to me, that was the coolest shit. Like
Oh my
to
god.
see them together. Like, oh shit, like uncle's here, like oh, they must have been out all day doing some shit, like So to have those core memories established, and um, for him to even give me a title as uncle like that, and knowing that we're not related in blood facet, but there still is that connection and that bond and that safety there that you trust me to play that role. That means the world. Um, and I always tell Lo all the time, if something were to happen to you, I'm right behind him, and vice versa. If, I have kids later on down the line, which I know he's waiting for. He tells me all the time, he's like, bro, you need to hurry up. Just
feel like the homies is always rushing the
Yeah.
childish homies. The childish homies is always getting rushed into some kids.
Yeah,
Why?
he's like, bro, hurry up, man. We waiting on you. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm cool. I'm good right now. When the time is right, the time was right.
I
It's
feel
mainly about finding that person first.
I feel like that's a daunting task,
Yeah,
you know,
especially nowadays.
man.
Yeah.
But it's funny because for me, I'm somebody who I'm typically kind of like very non-committal at times.
Hmm.
Like I'm in and out, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's like I was seeing a TikToker reel and it was saying when you get married, like they're not the person that you have to grow together.
Right. Right.
Um, mind you, I've been married.
Yeah.
You do some growing. You grow a lot together. Um, and like that's what makes them the one.
Right.
But like I still haven't figured out how do you choose like who's the one to grow with.
Yeah, I think it's just I'm getting to a point where it's like with I was just talking to Savannah about this last night, funny enough. It's just so hard for me to be connected to shit right now due to what I have going on in front of me and how driven I am to make the shit work. So it's like I almost feel like if I do get involved with somebody, I'm doing them a disservice because I'm not fully present. I'm not I know I'm not. I'm not fully emotionally connected to the capacity you want me to be
That
at.
you need me to be at.
Yeah, that you want me to be at, that you need me to be at. Like right now, I'm cool with just being cool and whatever happens, happens. But I'm just letting you know, like the second like some shit goes, south or I feel a certain type of way, I'm like,
Out of here.
I'm gone.
I'm the same way.
I'm gone.
I'm the same way.
Deuces, bro. Like I just but also too, it's just like I've been through a lot early on in my life. Not only with just women, but just people in general. To where it's like I am self-sufficient in my own peace. Very self-sufficient. So it's like if you fucking that up, that's on you. I have control of that. I can cut that out.
Yeah. And I think also like another big thing is like when you're self sufficient in your piece and just like with yourself,
Hmm.
like that person has to come in and like you have to fit within what I have going.
Right,
You know,
right.
like we have to figure that out. If it doesn't work, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. And you can't get upset. You can't get, but like, it's just, and I've come to that realization. What you just said is like, with certain people, shit just doesn't always work. Like, I used to be, when I was younger, I used to harp on shit like that. Oh man, I wonder why, it didn't work with so and so, or, me and so not cool. Now I'm like, well, fuck it. It happened. You know, there was a reason for that. And a lot of that I alleviate up to God. I don't, I have a big, big attachment to my faith in regards to just conversations and always keeping myself grounded in that. So if God removes something from my life, that was his decision and he did that for the betterment of me. So I don't harp on people like I used to, which that took a long time to
To get
unplug and
past.
rewire and but it's also helped me in the betterment of like being able to decipher what I want from people and also know what I'm willing to give.
So how did you ultimately come to that conclusion? Was that something that you just did in silence into yourself, or did you
Absolutely.
see?
That was some kind of like I had to sit with myself and be real like, okay, what are we doing within ourselves that's wrong? And as far as personal habits, routines, how you talk to people, not only that, but how you're talking to yourself. And then, you know, what are your real goals with the people you love? Are you doing that because you genuinely love them, or is this kind of some like service that you want to be the good guy all the time? Like, be real. Like, are you? What do you? What?
Damn.
What are you trying to do? Like, are we doing this to cover up trauma? or are we doing it because we genuinely care? And the more and more I started to like pay attention, of like, oh, you're just kind of doing this to please people, but nobody's taking the time to realize like you're unhappy. Okay, let's start rewiring shit. Let's start pulling shit and placing it this way and see what. So it ultimately it was just a lot of silent time, a lot of reflection, and being real. And so now I've gotten to a point where I'm just so comfortable in my own skin, and so, like I said, so sufficient in my own peace that like whether you're a part of it or you're not, I'm not gonna feel no type of way. But those that got love for me and those that stand for me, they'll know.
You,
You know, they'll know.
the tribe knows.
The
You know.
tribe knows, and you know, when I'm no longer present and I'm not in a room, whether that be, you know, I'm physically not here, and I move on to the spiritual world, like my impact will speak on its own behalf. You know, and I don't worry about that.
Yes, sir. Especially with the music.
Right.
So let's get into this debut album.
Yes.
Um, beautiful album.
Thank you.
Very, very touching, very emotional.
Hmm.
Um, it feels as if this album comes a lot from loss.
Yep.
We'll start off with the opening track, which is actually probably one of my favorites. You're speaking as your father. You know,
Hmm.
you got two tracks where you did it on there for certain.
Hmm.
And I love both of them.
Hmm.
So kind of talk to me about the relationship with your father, if it's not too.
Oh, absolutely. I think s- uh, it's funny enough you bring up the second one. We'll get to that, but um yeah, I mean my dad was the matriarch for everything that I stand for. You know, I have his name for a reason. But he knew what he was doing when he did that. And that was more so an initiation of saying, all right, when I'm gone and I'm no longer present, I'm still going to exist in this world. And whether that be me as a person or his principles and things that he's instilled, you know, his philosophies live through me. And I might not fully have everything of his, but in regards to how I carry myself, how I'm a product of how I present to people, how people connect with me, his spirit will forever be carried by me until I'm no longer here, you know, and then we'll see where the where the legacy lies at that point. But um, you know, I think it's just very important that I do speak on that, not only for my behalf and what I've gone through in grief and in loss, but you never know truly how that affects other people. And so that I took into consideration as a writer during this album is like, okay, I understand that I've gone through this, but how can I present this in a way that connects with people so that way they're able to use this product as their healing, you know? So yeah, that first track is just very important, not only because um
They lied.
they lied.
Yeah, they lied. They ain't had no faith.
Yeah,
Let's say it, man.
yeah.
Them doctors didn't know what they was talking about.
No, they didn't. They didn't. But God had the final say, and that I'm ultimately grateful for. And I was confident in knowing that, regardless, even before I had a train of thought spiritually, I've always felt like I've been here before. And there was a reason why I was put in this position. So never at one point was I scared, but it was more so, all right, when the lights hit and these eyes open and I can see color, it's on. Like that means like you gotta do something. So I've taken that very seriously up until this point of like, okay, you gotta stand for something. So when it comes to that opening track and that album, that was my intention, not only to have it as a layout or a blueprint for people that have gone through the similar things that I've gone through, but it's like I'm trying to make something that's timeless and that's gonna live forever.
And I definitely get that feel off this album. Um, especially as you know, you going through it from his perspective, you know, like my
Hmm.
twin, you Hey, look, I ran the whole back a couple
Yeah,
times.
yeah, that's
Um,
Stilo's favorite joint ever. He was like, that's probably, I mean, for a father to son connection, like that probably might be my most favorite song that you've ever written. And so he was like, it just hits different just because I've experienced those same kind of emotions that you were speaking from on behalf of your dad, and going through that with my nephew and everything that he's embodied. So he was just like, yeah, that's my that's up there. That's one of my favorites. So I definitely I think it was a good starting point. And what's crazy is that was probably one of the last songs that I had written on the album. So it came like super last minute, and I knew as soon as I opened up with that first verse and how I was gonna set it up in my mind, I was like, all right, this is because I needed an intro, but I didn't like. I was for so long, I was like, nostalgia's the one. We just gonna open up on nostalgia, and then last minute that beat hit the group chat, and I think I as soon as I saw it, I wrote the record the same day, and then like 2 or 3 days later, we were in the studio getting it mixed, and it was just a crazy captured moment in a bottle that I wanted to like hold on to for. It made the album that much better in regards to like, okay,
a cohesive project.
yeah, like all right, now it really makes sense. Now it really makes sense.
It does, and the documentary that you had to go along with it added so much more to the puzzle too.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
just being able to walk with you through where you grew up.
Hmm.
You from Southside Fort Worth originally.
Hmm.
Um, how was that feeling to go back into your old house?
Super crazy. That was a crazy week for some reason. I had like a real heavy heart during that week of like getting prepared to do the doc or just be shooting. And I had just had this crazy idea to Leo, my cousin, and I had just ran it by him. I was like, look, what if we could like either one go to old areas where I grew up in or try to get to the crib? And he's like, because I like ran the whole concept of the album. I had the whole album before we shot the documentary, and he was like, I mean, we could try. And
Yeah, I wonder how that went. Like, did y'all just hit up these random white people and was like,
nah,
hey?
so what's crazy, funny enough, bro, my dad still gets mail at that house.
And I seen that, and that leads to one of my other questions.
Yeah, so whenever we pulled up initially, um, now I mean, it's much way better, well kept than what we had it originally. They've remodeled it a little bit, so there's cameras everywhere, and that house has been broken into a couple times. The neighborhood's pretty hot, so I could see why like shit was kind of tense, you know what I mean? And so at first, the people that live there, they're like, who are you and why are you here? But they're like, they all speak fluent Spanish.
Okay.
So, luck, and I'm Taco Bell Mexican. I don't, I'm Taco Bell. I said that last time on the last episode. Hey, I'm Taco Bell. So like, luckily I had Leo with me, and he's fluent, and he's like, yeah, bro, like they're questioning like who you are, why you're here, and like literally they're talking to me like through the cameras and shit. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, why y'all got cameras and da da da? And I'm telling them, I'm like, yeah, I used to live here. Like, this is a house that I grew up in, and they didn't believe me.
I was like, them niggas did not give a
They didn't.
fuck.
They didn't give a fuck at all. They were like, y'all need to get off. Y'all need to get on somewhere. Like, we don't. I'm not tolerating that. And for some reason in my spirit, like I just in my spirit, uh, something was just telling me like keep trying. And so like we're literally in the middle of actually shooting the cover art. We're shooting the photos, and a truck pulls up, and sure enough, like the whole family pops out. I guess it was like the son that was there. Um, at first talking through the cameras, and then like the whole family jumps out as we're like shooting, and they're questioning. And so I end up telling Leo, I was like, bro, just if you can translate for me, I can tell them like who
What's
I
going
am
on?
and what's going on. So he was like, cool. So I'm literally telling him like, look, I used to live here. Like, uh, my last name's Vasquez. And as soon as I said my last name, they were like, what's your first name? And I told him, and then he was like, they were like, it clicked. Like I could see, like they both the mom and pop of the household, like they looked at each other and were like, okay, he's not lying because of the male
The
shit.
male, yeah.
Um, so they kind of like intervened and like had a little discussion for like 5, 10 minutes, and then they were like, okay, cool, like you can come inside. And so I was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like roam around in the front part of the house. I don't want to go in nobody's rooms or nothing like that, for privacy reasons. And they were like, no, like you're good, like you cool,
You cool money here. You
yeah,
family.
yeah, you cool money, like you move around in here, whatever you feel the need to do. And so sure enough, we get to the mail and shit, and like literally it's crazy, bro, because everything is the exact same, like from the cabinets to uh the oven, everything is the exact same. It's just new furniture. And it just kind of took me back, bro. It was like, damn, this is crazy to a point where it's like full circle. Like I can't believe, like I don't even think my pops would believe, that was possible, you know, and that I would make this album the way that I did. So they pulled the mail out, and sure enough, yeah, he had still been getting bills there for like a few years, maybe like 10 years plus. Like, and so they just kept it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? Like just seeing your dad still receives mail here, like just any
Yeah.
additional emotions and that they
Um,
kept it.
yeah, the fact that they kept it was super fire. That meant a lot. I don't know. I felt like that was maybe him, and I know it had been ongoing even while he was alive and he didn't know, but like looking at it now, it's like I feel like he set that whole play up to work out that way. Um, and it was a lot of kind of a bittersweet kind of a moment. I did have a moment, I think, like while we were filming, I almost kind of like broke down, but I was just like, nah, I can't. Like, it's not a bad thing. It's not sad tears. You know what I'm saying? It's just more so like I'm thinking about this album and how we're rolling it out, and like everything that I'm planning in my mind is actually coming true. Like, I'm actually saying I'm going to do it and I'm doing it. So it just kind of all hit me all at once, and then just seeing the mail shit, it was like, all right, like he's still here, you know. And that was kind of also a reminder, I feel like, from him to be like, keep going, you're doing what you're doing, you're on the right path, you press the right button. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just pressing these buttons and seeing what works and what sticks, and keep doing this groundwork.
That's beautiful. And I recall that, in your last conversation with him, you're like, school's not for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So just to even, for that to be a part of the last conversation,
Yeah.
and then for everything to continue to pan out the way that it does,
Yeah.
it definitely would seem like, he's up there.
Pulling
Hey,
strings.
my guy, come on, Big G.
Yeah, Big G. Like, hey, I got this kid down here. Like, you know.
I can't be with. Come on,
Yeah.
let me do this favor, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it. I mean, for the past 7 years, bro. I was just talking to somebody about this today, but um, that first 3 or 4 years, I was a little lost. You know. Um, was a little lost. Was doing shit I shouldn't have been doing. Around the wrong people. Just unmotivated. Wasn't even worried about music. Thought about giving it up. And that was my foreseeable future until had a kind of tighten up moment, you know, and made me reflect a little bit. Almost I would say near fall, near death experience. Kind of punched me in my face a little bit. I wouldn't say, well, yeah, near death, near fall kind of experience, but also just kind of a maybe Big G pulling my card a little bit. Like, hey, you're not invincible, bro. I don't know what you think you got going on, but it's not that. So yeah, it just made me tighten up, and then Um, I mean, now we're year 7 removed away from his passing, and I feel like within these past 3 years, I've just really been on my own ass, bro. For all the right reasons, and it's just the purpose, the message, the impact, and again, going back to what I said earlier, like you have to do something, you have to stand for something, and so that's why I'm so motivated, and so hungry to keep doing the show shit, because it's like you can keep. Nobody knows me yet. I'm so realistic with myself. I'm so realistic with my inner dialogue to myself, but I'm like, I can be unrealistic with my dreams, and that's okay.
Yeah. No, if people don't look at you like you're insane when you talk about,
Yeah.
your dreams, you ain't dream big enough yet.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
you got to be a little delusional. And so I allow myself to be delusional, but I also allow myself the grace and knowing that, all right, some shit you really have to think about and you have to be real. And that's really what I've been doing over these past 3 years is just trying to be as calculated as possible. And that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody knows me yet. So as far as like these shows and running these multiple different set list versions of this album, I've performed songs on this album this year that I've been excited to do, and I'm excited to do it 50 more times the same way. Or okay, let's take some songs out and do some other joints that we didn't do yet. So it's I plan on pushing this thing until the wheels fall off and until it catches that right person to make them want to truly believe in what we stand for. So I really believe in it.
That's as you should. You shouldn't do anything you don't really believe in.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Um, but to be able to go out there and chase a dream, chase a passion,
Mhm.
that's not something everybody knows.
Right.
And then let alone for your story, they
Right.
said you wouldn't walk, you wouldn't talk, vegetative state.
Mm.
And it's like when you said Big G pulled your card, it's like, hey bro,
I helped you.
don't play in my face.
Yeah, like I helped you. You're not supposed to be here. Remember that. Remember that. I can just as much as I gave it to you, I could take it away. And I keep that in my mind now too. And not only with my experience, that kind of pulled my card a little bit, but also just with losing people the way that I have been over the past couple of years and losing my dad as well. It's just life is precious, you know. Life is very precious.
Definitely. And there's one thing that really bothered me about the doc is when you said your parents were young at 27 and 28. One, I've seen your mother. She does not look like she had a kid
Yeah,
like that far off, and I wouldn't say that far off because in reality it is still really young.
right.
Like for me, my parents were 17 and 18.
Okay.
So like that's why when I hear young, I'm like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What?
but nah, your mom definitely does not look like,
Mm.
she was in her late 20s. Like I definitely would have thought you was somewhere like in that young category with me.
Yeah, for sure. I think, man, my mom she's a soldier, bro. To see where she's advanced to now, as a person, mentally, emotionally, she's so herself and unapologetically to the fullest. Um, One of the strongest people I know, actually the strongest person I know. Let me change that. Cause without her and her, what's the right word? So hard.
Determination,
Not well, yeah,
perseverance,
perseverance, her strength.
resiliency.
Yeah, and her she tells me this funny enough all the time. Her composure. She tells me all the time, you have an unwavering composure about yourself. But I look at her and I'm like, Mama,
Look, look in the mirror.
like you have no idea, like who you don't know how beautiful you are. You truly don't. And especially over these past 7 years, you've had this unwavering composure to always. I've seen you have your moments. you've had some bad moments, but you're allowed that. It's what you do with the bad moments in the good moments. So man, she's the like I said earlier, my dad was the matriarch. They both are that, you know. But I have more so a much respect for her just because I was a daddy's boy. I was a daddy's boy to the fullest, to the point that I felt like maybe she felt maybe for a little bit like it was like mom wasn't here. And maybe that might have been, the truth, and maybe I was blind to that. But now, going through what we've gone through as a family and seeing how she's maneuvered through certain shit and overcome, and just also just being open with our relationship after the fact that he's passed and moved on. And there was some tough conversations, but the way that she took those conversations to the chin and really applied it to her life and applied it to our relationship, I have like literally no words. Like she deserves it all, and she's also too like the biggest fucking fan, bro. Like
I'm
the
aware.
the biggest fucking fan, bro. And I like it. I love it to the point where she's so gangster about it. Like she damn near be promoting me more than I promote myself, bro. And that's just so hard. And I hold on to those moments where we be out at a bar somewhere in the middle of fucking nowhere, and she'll be like, "Oh, these are these cards and this is my son's information." And I'm like, "Where the fuck did those come from?"
When did you get those made?
Yeah, like she's just a soldier, bro, and I don't know the type of person I would be if the roles were reversed or if she wasn't here, you know? So I've been truly blessed to have both. And I'm really gotten to a point in realizing like, yeah, I did lose the biggest part of me, but in losing that, I gained so much knowledge and admiration for my mom and a better relationship from my mom, and I know she wanted that and she needed that. So, um there are tough days still, but like she's already lost enough, so I don't take away the moments where she's allowed to be my mom. The biggest person that ever taught me that was Savannah. I remember there was a moment in time me and my mom was having like some rough patches, and she said those as the exact words was like, she's already lost enough. Like, let her be your mom, you know, regardless of how certain shit makes you feel. Like at the end of the day, she just wants to be your mom. Just let her be that. Don't take that away from her. Because I mean, as sons and
We rebel.
yeah, we rebel, we be stubborn, and so she said that to me one day when we were talking on the phone. I was driving, and it hit me, and I'm like, damn, she's right. That's a like she gets a joy out of that. Whether it's protecting me or I see it as annoying me or whatever the fuck, she's still being mom. Like that's her job. She loves doing that. Don't take that away from her by being ugly,
Asshole.
being an asshole, being ugly, So now, our relationship is just in such a bountiful, beautiful place that I'm forever grateful for.
What's love? So while we're talking about your mom, let's go ahead and skip a little further down the track list.
Mhm.
And we're gonna get to that second song. Unfortunately, I do not remember the name off the top of my head.
Nostalgia?
Nostalgia, that was the one.
Yeah.
Because you said a lot of like just even from that perspective of your dad from the grave, you know.
You talking about Bird's Eye View.
Yeah,
A Bird's Eye View. Okay.
that
Yeah, that was
um
it.
that one was actually.
I thought you was going in order for the
Oh
I was like, the second song of the album?
nah. I have specific ones
Okay,
that
got you.
are in my head and that I wanted to discuss with you for
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
Because I do know throughout the documentary you talked about a lot of these songs. So we won't overdo it. But we will get deeper into some of the just the thought process and the writing behind it. Because even when you're going through on bird's eye view, um, you know, you're coming at it from your dad's perspective, and now you're
Mhm.
talking to your mom.
Yeah, crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. That was the hardest song I ever had to write in my life. Absolutely. That was crazy is that song almost didn't make the album because
Excuse me.
yeah. Yeah. Y'all heard it here
The
first.
fuck for?
Y'all heard it here first. That's yeah. There was a lot of conversations behind that record. Just because personally I felt like is this too much? Am I like because it's a lot. Um and for me I just had never in that in between verses there's no hook. It's just straight verses. But that's actually a voicemail from 2018. And I talk about my phone's blowing up. Like literally within that week, I probably had over 300 text messages and like 150 missed calls from people calling me, "Hey, you okay? Hey, what's this? What's going on? And we heard this, this, and this." And everybody wants a response from me, but I just wanted to turn the world off.
Like,
You
you
know?
don't leave me alone.
Yeah, and it's like, and even after the fact, like this was like a year into him passing, people were like, "Are you gonna make music about it? Like, are you gonna talk about it? Are you gonna?" And I'm like,
Can I grieve?
Yeah, can I live a little bit? Can I grieve? Like, I'm still processing. You want me to write a song? Like, what is that? Just because I write a song, that doesn't mean it's gonna make me feel better. Like, if anything, that might make the shit worse. You
Because you
know?
got to think about it, man. Like just having a, because you got to draw from somewhere,
Yeah,
so
you
you got
gotta
to really pull some
you gotta
memories.
relive that whole experience. That's almost like fucking method acting in a way. You have to be present in that shit and live that shit. So it's like, do I want to like I'm just getting like this is still fresh and you want me to go back to that place? So yeah, there was just a lot of conversations of like how much is too much and I think it was Low um that pulled me to a side. We were on FaceTime one day. Actually, I called him crying writing that first verse. I called him on FaceTime and I was in tears. I was like having a full blown anxiety attack, panic attack, hyperventilating. I'm just like, bro, I can't stop crying. I don't know what's going on. He was like, bro, what's like, I'm like, bro, I was just writing this song and like literally as I'm writing, bro, that whole experience, it was like outer body. Like I just felt like I could see myself in the room, like overhead, just kind of writing everything. And it was just, I couldn't stop. Like I would say a line and it would just keep coming, and it was like I couldn't stop my brain from putting the shit down, and it was like I wanted to have a moment, almost to where like I wanted the shit to stop, like I was like, please, like this is a lot that's going on right now, and so I finished the first verse and just had that kind of middle section just laying around for months, 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 and I remember I had posted right before the album had dropped, I was doing like some secretive rollout, not really a rollout, teasing shit. And I just happened to throw like the rough demo of that first verse in a like slide on Instagram. And one of the homies was like, yeah, whatever. And I try to be like so discreet about it and put it on like slide 7, slide 8. Like,
Hey, make sure nobody's like. Hopefully they stop scrolling after 4 or 5.
like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, nobody's gonna pay attention to that hoe. We're just gonna throw it in the back. And then one of my homies was like, yeah, whatever's on 7 and 8, we need that. And I was like, fuck. So it just kind of like at that point, it was a running joke for the homies of like, all right, so Bird's Eye View's coming out, right? And I'd be like, I mean, I don't know if I'm offended. And I was even telling Savannah like, she's in Germany, and I'm like, I don't know if I can finish this. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I really don't think I can do this. And she's like, look, if you feel the need to do it, you need to do it because obviously that's something between you and him.
And that's where I was about to get to.
That's like you, that's between you and him, and he's trying to talk to you. He's already done his portion of what he needs to say. So I feel like he deserves a response. And and even with Low, Low is the one that hit me and was like, "Bro, it's not about you." And that's what really hit me. Was he was like, "Bro, it's not about you. Like this record has nothing to do with you. It does to a certain extent, yes, and I understand that you feel away, but you have to think about what this is going to do for other people." And I shit you not, I for those that come to see me perform, I will, and this is a promise that I made to myself, but throughout every single performance, I don't care if I'm like I'm where I want to be or I'm not in front of,
5 people or 5 million.
I will always perform that song last.
That's beautiful.
I will always perform that song last. And the reason being is because um every time I hear that, every time I perform it, there's a different reaction from different people. Not only that, but I feel like I'm able to hear his voice again, which is the most powerful, craziest thing ever. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like every time I perform it, he's present.
And even as I listened to it, it felt like there was two totally different people on the
Yeah.
track. Like I definitely could have thought for a second, like,
Damn.
was this on Tuck somewhere?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
um, it was just beautiful. And then like when they said it's bigger than you, right? I'm not even gonna take it to the amounts of everybody else,
Right.
right? I'm gonna keep it at home because of the message to your mom.
Right.
That's kind of what made me start to feel like, especially when you said out of body experience, buddy, you wasn't writing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people that too, like during the sets. Because I get into it. That's kind of my love yours, you know what I mean? Um, and I kind of explain the story, but I say that. I didn't write this song. He wrote the song for me. And the more and more I say that, and the more I think about the process, and even with you bringing that up, I absolutely believe it's true. He used me, like he used me in a way that he knew would work, and he knew it would get my attention right away, and it did. And that's why I had the reaction that I did. I knew it was him immediately. I knew it was him immediately. Uh, and to mention my mom, I think around that time when I was writing that, mind you, I don't think this entire time that I had been working on this album, my mom knew like that I was working. I would, and I recorded everything at the crib. I've tried to get better at just kind of involving her in ideas and showing her things, presenting shit. Just because I think about my dad and shit that he would do. He would literally like bust in my sessions at the crib and be like, "What's that? What are you doing? Let me get on the record." Like, and that was just his thing. He would just be always be trying to be a part of something. And there were times like after he passed, I was like, damn, I wish I could have showed him this. I wish I could have showed him that. And so now I take that in consideration with my mom. And I'm trying to like be more open to just show. I don't like showing my ideas to a lot of people. I just don't. I like to keep things private. Then when it's rolling and it's out, that's like once it's out in the world, it's out of my hands.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But I feel like in the time that I'm making it and trying to perfect it and trying to, get it to a standard where I feel like it's livable, that's my time. But the second I press that button, like I'm letting go, and I have no control. Um, but yeah, I don't think my mom knew I was working on this album the entire time until maybe I'd mentioned it towards the end. But she was dealing with a lot of situationships and crazy just people that she would interact with, and she just be so hard on herself and still is to this day. Um, to where she'll be like, I don't know if I'll ever find love again. And for that to be a reality is a sad thing for me because it's like I want my mom to be happy. I've gotten to a point where it's like, all right, it's been 7 years, dog. Like, it's been 7 years.
Not you hitting the move on button on it.
Yeah, like not in that way, but it's just like for me, like
Mhm.
to allow her to be happy because there was a point in time where you know the grief was so heavy and so fresh. I didn't think I could see her with
With
anybody.
somebody.
So now I've gotten to a point where like I'm so present in my career, my mentality's changed, she's changed. I want her to be happy, and regardless of how the family feels and other people like fuck that, bro. Like I know what it's like to be alone. I've been alone majority of my life in regards to like not having peers around, having people tell me no, just kind of consolidated in a space where people have made me feel less than.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, don't be a dickhead. Like, come, because what really bothered me in your documentary,
hmm
was you saying how you were picked on, bullied, treated as differently.
hmm
And granted, hey, I think bullying's okay.
Right.
There's certain people you shouldn't bully. You
Right.
know, um, like that's a real life dickhead move, and that's also kind of interesting because a lot of this, not you personally,
hmm
but a conversation between your pops was kind of a sins of the father thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think I spoke about it briefly in the documentary where he felt like everything that I was experiencing was a fault to his karma
Hmm.
and things that he did. He was a bully himself at one point, and I didn't know this for years until he had actually like broke down and told me like, this and this is what was going on, and um, I feel like I'm at fault, and I understood where he was coming from, but also too I'm also just naturally patient and understanding with people and knowing that people change, and I just because he told me that, that didn't make me feel less of a way about my dad. If anything, that just made me feel like, oh, okay, so my dad's human, you know, because this motherfucker made mistakes and he owned up to it. He was real about it. So I commended him for that and I respected it, but also was like, no, I understand that take on it, but like, there's something different going on here with me to where this is just bigger than anything that I can ever imagine. And I know that. So I'm just gonna take these cards. I'm not gonna complain about them. I'm gonna have my moments, but I'm not gonna complain. We're just gonna keep it pushing because y'all didn't let me feel that way. Y'all didn't let me feel sorry for myself ever. My siblings, I got bullied on. I got bullied from my siblings before I got bullied by anybody else.
All right, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
but I understand what you're saying though. Absolutely. But granted, I will say,
well, when you say bullied by your siblings, do you mean like a joking bully or like,
yeah. So I like they made me so self-aware.
okay,
Like they were the ones to put that mirror in front of me and be like, "Look, dog, this is what's going on. Like, this is you, right?" And so it just gave me tough skin. So like in dealing with that at home and being able to have those layers built on the skin and then going to school and getting fucked with and then actually like physically fighting people. Like there was multiple times where I got kicked out of school for fighting or they actually kicked I talked about it in nostalgia. They kicked me out of elementary school my first two times when I was in Fort Worth because I was apparently too smart for my own good. I was smarter than the other kids and I was teaching them bad habits. is what was told. Which is knowing me, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm an asshole. I am an asshole. Um, so that I could see that being the truth. A lot of the time I don't remember, but it was just, there was a lot that was brought onto me, but I've never really, I've always taken shit to the chin and been proud of it. And like, look, there might have been some times where I might have started some shit just because I was angry and frustrated with myself, just because I knew my situation, um, and I knew I was different. But there were also other times where there was people that stepped in for me to be like, hey, leave him the fuck alone. Like he ain't doing nothing to nobody. Um, and then of course when the music started to come about and people started to realize that, then it was a different conversation of like, okay, this kid has something different going on. Definitely leave him alone. Like, yeah, like if you fuck with him, you gonna get some get back, you know. So it was a good and a bad thing. Again, it taught me a lot just about people and always just to be a good person. If you remain true, then that'll come back to you. And so I took that in stride. I still do. And I think that's why people actually do tend to connect with me differently and connect with the music a different way. So to hear you say, bringing up the Never New record and a Bird's Eye View, and you having the physical and emotional reaction that you're having, like, dog, what? Like, what are we talking about? That soul moment is why I do what I do. For those reactions of like, what? Like,
It was like I said, like those two particularly,
mm,
like just spoke to me so much. I don't know why. Like I don't. For me, music it has to make me feel something.
right,
So if you don't make me feel a type of way, if the music doesn't resonate in some way, like pull at some type of string,
right.
I'm probably gonna cut you the fuck off.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, absolutely. I think I've actually become a little bit more lenient with shit nowadays because I used to be so driven on that of like, all right, if it don't touch my soul, I can't listen to it. Shout out to Chris.
Hey, my.
Shout out to Christmas. But nowadays too, I do notice that like the direction of music is changing, and like I'm getting older, so my mentality's changing. My view is a lot wider. Not that I'm talking like I'm just some wise ass, but um, you know, it's there comes a moment in time where you realize like, oh shit, time is passing you by. Shit is real. You're not young. Don't play yourself. And there's other people out here that are doing things differently, maybe not as traditionally as you have done it. Um, that doesn't mean that their work is any less
Valuable.
valuable. It's just different. Just like the same thing with me being bullied and fucked with and all that shit. People did that because I was different. And that might have been the climate, but it's just like that doesn't change the fact of who I am today. Like,
Not at all. If anything, it made you
if anything, it made
exactly
me
who you
better.
are.
So it's like, um, it's kind of the same thing with the bullying shit. Like, what's the point of that? It's not needed.
Yeah, I really don't understand. Like I said, we made fun of people. We assholes. I
Yeah,
admit
you
it.
got cooked on at 7 a.m. in middle
You
school.
feel me? Like when you
Yeah.
coming through from from the buses through the
Yeah.
cafeteria, you getting cooked. But I feel like for us, there was always a line.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you didn't choose to come. You know, you didn't choose to have cerebral palsy.
Right.
You know,
Right.
why would we make what? You know, like I think that's what gets me is like there should be a line. Like
There should be, but I think unfortunately, like just with people in general, uh, like I tell my mom, I love when because there's certain times when I can tell shit bothers her about me, like when people stare or we go out in public and like it never fails, bro. I'm always the 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 viewpoint. You know what I'm saying? I walk in the room and people are like, who is this? Um, I get it. I love it. I've gotten to a point now where it's like I enjoy that. Before I did feel that way, but I'd much rather you ask me questions and pull me to a side than be staring a hole through my spirit or staring a hole at me like I'm some kind of creature. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, I think in a time where I grew up and went to school, I don't think there was anybody else like me. So unfortunately, I had to deal with that. And there was no there was no seatbelt, to say, hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, it just was what it was, and I kind of accepted that and was just like, you know what? Eventually, things will get better. It's gonna get better before gets worse. And that was also something my dad just kind of instilled in me from jump. Both my parents actually was just, regardless of your diagnosis, regardless of what they tell you you can and can't do. Again, we're not finna sit here and wallow in what could or could not be. Like, these are your cards. You're gonna have to figure it out and move accordingly. And so with the bullying shit, I don't play that shit just because I've experienced it. But like you said earlier too, there is a certain level of, I feel like, quote unquote bullying that may be needed to get a point across. It just depends on how you do it.
Oh yeah, nah, because I'm doing some bullying on Sunday's podcast. I'm doing some bullying, like them people who came out the Southwest dressed how the fuck ever.
Yeah.
Hey, no, we bullying you. You deserve it. Your friend should
Yeah.
have said something.
Yeah.
Like,
You had no reason to leave the house like that.
not like that. No, like,
Yeah, yeah. No, there's definitely, like you said earlier, there's a fine line between bullying, quote unquote, and being disrespectful. Unfortunately, I did have to deal with the disrespectful part of it, but I wouldn't change it, you know. I wouldn't, because we wouldn't have got a never knew. We wouldn't have got a nostalgia, a bird's eye view, other side of the fence, flowers to my grave, like all of those moments. That's what this album was just me pulling from memories and things that made me feel away during my childhood. Um, but those are things that I'm proud of, regardless of how I may have felt
then,
then, you know, because they made me who I am. And again, I'm just so self-sufficient in my own peace that now I'm in a place where I can. All right, motherfucker, you wanted a song, 7 years ago when my dad died? Okay, here's that song.
that's still kind of selfish.
Yeah.
I'm not go, I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of selfish.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I guess I can see where they're coming from, and it's just, are you gonna use that to be your fuel? Like, what are you gonna do with those moments? And I think that's just ultimately where it was coming from, was just like, we know you can be great. That's why we're raising the question. What are you doing? How are you gonna move forward? Cause me personally, I love adversity. I love it. I uh I thrive in it. Just because, again, my whole life, it's been a lot of no's. Been a lot of you can't. Been a lot of you won't. Okay, motherfucker, watch this.
On God,
you
on
know?
God.
Watch this.
I hope the doctor that said that shit is seeing this
I
right
would,
now.
yeah. Yeah. One day I want to, if they, God willing, is still alive, I want to run into that guy. I want to be like, and I don't even want to have no altercation. I don't want to do none of that. I just want to be like, look, look at your judgment, bro. Terrible. Terrible. What are your relationships like? What is your life like? Because your judgment is just terrible. Absolutely
I
dreadful.
just feel like you got terrible people around you
I
for
just
some reason.
you just got terrible choice making ability. I don't know. I'm grateful though. Again, I love the pressure. I love uncomfortable dynamics because I was bred in it. That's almost like my fucking, that's my alcohol. That's my, you know what I mean? That's my Motrin. That's my that's everything to me. Is when somebody tells me you can't do something. It's like, okay, but it might take me a minute, but give me some time.
I'm gonna do it.
Give me some time. Like, let me think, let me plot it out, and we'll see how you feel 2 3 years from now. And it's the same thing with the music. And even with the music, in the very beginning, I think the first time that I ever got a reaction out of people, I was 17 years old at a show at my uh talent show senior year, and I had performed for the first time ever. And I think it was that moment that made me realize, oh, like I have control. But before that, oh, bro, it started with SoundCloud. I was putting music out on SoundCloud and posting it on Facebook, and I would even like shit go back to the MySpace days. Like I would fucking write pages of notes of raps, and shit would get clowned, and like it was it was just funny. Like I would post songs on SoundCloud, and motherfuckers be like, "Yeah, this is good," but like the fan in the background is like bothering the fuck out of me. Can you fix that? And or like I would post a link, and they just, I had people quote the hell and be like, "Oh, this is trash." Like I experienced it all, and so now to be able to have the control and be able to be confident in my ability, that's why I say it's like, okay, y'all clown to me and talk shit. Okay, I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it. But when I was about 17, 18, it clicked in my head, and I was like, nobody's gonna tell me no with this. Like, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna do this. And still to this day, like I have questions. Like I just mentioned this in the car back from South by Southwest. It was like, what would a tour be like if I were to tour, what would a Jay Vasquez tour look like? And so now I'm in my head, I'm like, hmm, interesting. Let's see what it looks like. Let's do it. And whether that be uh, you know, because for me, bro, when I perform, I don't have to do a lot of jumping around. I don't have to do a lot of movement. I don't have to like demand you to fuck with me. The music is gonna do that. And I think that was the question originally, because like me and G had got into like a little spat or debate about like how performances went, and he was feeling some type of way, and I'm just like, bro, you do notice that like I just sit there and rap. Like I don't do anything else other than just sit there with a mic in front of me and and like in my mind I'm like, I wish I could move around and jump around and do all that shit. Like, and he's like, yeah, but like I don't know. And I'm just like, and it was vice versa, but it's just like at first the question was a scary thing to ask, like what would a tour look like? Could I see myself touring? And it was one of the homies that was like, bro, you literally have it in the bag. Like, all you have to do is just play your music and perform for people and tell your story. You're going to connect every time. And so I'm really thinking about it now. I'm like, oh shit. Like, they're right. I just have to fucking speak my truth and live in my truth. And another thing, too, is like to speak on a bird's eye view. Another thing that gives me that reminder is like, to have a different reaction from different people every time about that song, that one song in specific. It doesn't matter about anything else in the set, just that one song, um, every time just gets people. And so that, I'm like, okay, imagine if I did that every time I made something, and I actually tried to do that. What would that look like? Or like if I did a tour of just them type of records, what would that look like? You know?
That would be pretty dope. Like
Yeah.
tours are fun in general, especially like if you like once you take the team with you, like so you got everybody with you.
Yeah.
Like it's an amazing time. And then like once again, you're hitting these different cities and these different spots,
Mhm.
and it's like for instance, well. keep it at bird's eye view. You
Mhm.
know, that one song right there, you know, eh, guaranteed at least 3 to 5 people were coming up to you after the show for that one song.
Yeah, bro. I actually had when we was at South by, and I did the Future Indie Showcase. There was she was a friend of mine. She's the wife of of another artist friend of mine, and she was in tears, bro. Like I finished the set, and immediately the homies were like, "Hey, bro, I think you need to go like talk to her." And she's like literally wallowing, bro. And I'm just like, what's going on? And she's just like, that song makes me think about my mom. And I think she said she had just lost her mom like a couple days ago or that day. And like when I heard it, it made me as weird as this may sound, it made me happy in knowing that I connected the dots for somebody in that way. But it also made it like that much more personal and deepened that it was like, damn, this is like this is a real thing. What I'm doing is real. Like
Yeah, no.
I'm moving people. And even Trey, Furlough, he told me the same thing after the set. He was just like, bro, I don't know what it is you do, cause you like I said, I don't do much. Um, but he's like, I don't know what it is you do, but you just have this knack to grab people
Put your heart into it.
and you put them in front of you or pull them in front of you and they're in the palm of your hand every time. And so I'm just grateful, bro. I'm grateful that again God has given the gift to allow me to do that because there was points and times in my life where I needed that same thing and now I'm doing that for other people through my work. It's absolutely like I have no words. I have no words, and it's just that much more motivating to want to continue to do shows, um, and want to continue to be out in front of people and drop more music and um, see where the journey takes me. And it's like I'm only 27. What does this look like at 30?
And one thing I can tell you is a lot changes. And
Right.
but you know, one in a year. You
Right.
know.
Yeah, and a lot, and just off this quarter alone, bro, a lot has changed just off the mindset for myself. I would wonder, well, how come I'm not performing? How come I'm not doing this? It's all in here. You have the capacity to do that, but how bad do you really want to do that? Are you just saying it because you want to say it and it makes you feel good? Or do you actually want to go out here and do it? And I think that was the biggest realization again, back to the beginning of the podcast, me being real with myself. I'm like, okay, are you gonna continue to just make songs in his room and not perform and just be label yourself as a rapper? Like, or are you gonna go out here and actually touch these people and turn the world on its axis? Like, what's the real goal here? And so this year alone, um, this is only the first quarter of the year. I can only imagine by the end of the year what this is gonna look like. So absolutely, um, what did Cole say in Friday Night Lights? There was a joint on there. Keep grinding, boy. Your life can change in 1 year.
Yeah. And bro, we used to. So back when I was managing artists,
Ha, here we go again. Part two.
nah, we not gonna crash it. We not gonna,
Yeah, we did kind of crash it.
we not gonna do that. But that was one of the things that was said to me, bro. Like, you don't know where we're gonna be at in a year.
Hmm.
And I remember when he said that, I had just got my hair locked up.
Hmm.
So this was about 3 years ago, yeah. So just got my hair locked up, and literally fast forward a year later, I'm looking at my hair. Well, I started off with like nothing, right? It was ugly for
My
you.
man's has the dookie joints.
The worst. It was terrible. I promise you. But fast forward a year later, my hair is long, it's swinging in
Hmm.
the wind. I'm no longer working with certain people,
Hmm.
you know, and now was clicked different in my life,
Yeah.
was it was time to focus on me, you know, and that's why I'm saying like a lot is going to change,
Yeah.
from 27 to 30, you know, for me, I didn't see. I've always loved this. I
Right.
love media.
Right.
I started probably years ago.
Right.
Um, and like when it was about that time, fine, and this is what I focused on.
Yeah.
And we had some stumbles. Ooh, we had some stumbles. We had some mishaps,
Oh yes.
but always, I was always. It goes back to what you said, resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we might have had to take a seat here for a little minute, but boom, look what it came through with better.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about stumbles and falls, I mean, with the music shit, to tie it back into, the pod and just what we're speaking on, um, I mean, when I first started at 17, 16, 17, and wanted to take it serious, bro, I was, I think I mentioned it on the last episode. Like, I was rapping in a set of headphones and an interface and like a $400 laptop that I got from the pawn shop, like trying to make it work. And my dad just happened to help me with like a couple things here and there. Um, and but as far as like the software aspect, I knew nothing, and literally he threw me in the room in the closet and was like, figure it out. This was what you want to do it. And I think it's just having the upbringing that I had. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either. But it also was rough mentally, emotionally, physically. With all of that going into the music, I think that's what kept me grounded and knowing, okay, if you can get through that shit and everything that you've gotten through this far, there's no reason why you shouldn't figure out the music shit. And there's still things I'm still learning, but that was my fuel. Like when I was in that room and, you know, went from headphones to performing, recording on stage mics and went from a stage mic to okay, I got a little bit of money, I can invest in my first mic. Um, it was just I've always been in love with the progress, and I think even more now. I look back on those moments, and I wish I could go back and like, damn, times were easier then, because it's only gonna get harder. Uh,
Jay-Z has a wonderful quote, and it was, "Truth be told, I miss when we was piss poor." It was something, I'm messing it up right now, but it was like, I miss when we was poor. Now I'm pissed off. You know,
yeah, yeah, and I even I don't know if you knew or if you did a little bit of homework, but I actually got to have sit down with Logic
I didn't see that.
and meet Logic. This was like 2015. So, and that same conversation, the same time that I spent, we had that same conversation of like, he's in my crib, literally telling me like, you have the talent to do what you need to do and get where you need to get, but enjoy these times now while you're broke and you're still just, it's just a dream. Because eventually it's gonna get so big that you're gonna want to go back. You're gonna want to cherish those moments. So I'm trying to just be mindful and knowing that okay, what we're doing is important here, but also at what cost? You know what I'm saying? So like the fucking again, shout out to Gizo. Those conversations that I want to be the greatest. I get it, but on the same token, we have to enjoy the now. You know what I mean? Not everything is gonna be perfect. It's not intended to be. Also, shout out Wolf Taylor. He had this amazing, amazing quote.
Shouts out to Wolf, bro. He's been like, not to interrupt the quote, but he's been doing this thing with the podcast like since he's moved up to
That
New
dude,
York.
I will
Man,
forever. He was one of the first guys that I ever performed with and rapped with in Dallas.
really,
Um, Years ago, and so that's my dog.
he's one of the first people when I came back stateside. Um, he was one of the first people I had met
Mhm.
in the scene for real.
Amazing guy, amazing guy. And we used to have conversations all the time on the phone. Um, And this was like, he was getting his feet wet, moving around, and was thinking about doing a move to New York, but was working on this project. But I remember he said to me, he's like, perfection's overrated. And I was just like, yeah, I needed to hear that. At the time I needed, and this was like 2019, 2020-ish. And that quote I will forever live with is like perfection is overrated. Again, to go back to the topic, is like all the shit that we spat about and get frustrated with and wish that things could be like, maybe our everybody's um perspective and example for themselves of perfection is meant to be different. That's what makes us perfect, because we're all different in different ways. So it's just like the second you let that go, of like, oh, I need to be what perfect is. The second you let that go, the second you'll be happy. Like, and that's just been the ultimate mantra to my life, is like, physically I'm not perfect. Mentally I struggle. My music is not perfect. It talks about some dark, very expressive things, the good and the bad. But that's what makes me me. There's people still out here that love me for doing that because they couldn't do that themselves.
And while we're talking about the music, um, I got one last song I just really wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somewhere in '02.
Yeah.
That
A
one,
gem.
somewhere in '02. Because me and my grandmother's relationship is very tight knit.
Mm-hmm. Is she still here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um.
Awesome. Cherish that, bro.
Oh God, I was just thinking how I was like, I need to call her today, but I know her work schedule, so I'm gonna call her tomorrow. Um. But yeah, like I felt it was funny, like hearing the song and then going and seeing the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Um. And Granny's always got the most faith.
Yeah.
Like no matter what you
They
say.
just got this thing, bro. I don't know what it is. Something with mothers and grandmothers. They just have this thing of like, uh, it's like a light bulb that nobody else sees.
Oh God.
Or like a protective bubble that nobody else got, and they just get information sent into that bubble. Yeah. So um, it's just something special between the relationship of a grandchild and a grandmother, and also just grandparents all together.
Yeah, for sure. Like my granddad, both my grandparents are near and dear to my heart,
Hmm.
without a doubt. My granddad, he's like, truth be told, that's like my father figure. And fortunately now I have a great relationship with my dad,
Hmm.
but coming up I didn't.
Right.
So like how you were a daddy's boy,
You
I'm
didn't
a
get that.
I'm a mama's boy.
Right.
And fortunately my mama's a gangster. So like, I learned some valuable lessons off of my mama, like a lot of valuable lessons. Like we don't fight over women.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like little shit that you would pick up from your uncles, the gang, the
Hmm.
guys, you know. My mom was there to like
Navigate and
and really push
alleviate.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why like when we were talking about bird's eye view, and I think that's when it finally clicked on why that song spoke to me so much. Because for my mom to raise two boys, you know, you had to raise two men solo.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, both Somewhere in '02 and A Bird's Eye View, I think, well, really those three songs, Never Knew, um, Bird's Eye View and Somewhere in '02, like those are pillars to the album. Like if you were to, if I was to set up a synopsis or like a gist of the album and gave you the rundown, but was like, all right, pick three songs, those would probably be the three. Um, but yeah, I felt like it was important to I wanted to include the most important people in my life on this album. And when I thought back to my childhood, yes, it was my uncles, and yes, it was the times of my cousins, but the biggest people that had the biggest impact on me to like make me think and provoke a feeling, that was my pops, my grandmother, my mother, um, and my siblings, you know? And so I felt like it was important every time I would, as I was writing the album, okay, so we got dad, we got to go capture mom. Okay, how can we capture, mama, you know, how can we do that? Um, and yeah, even on the documentary, I speak about, somewhere in '02. That was, and it was even better for me because I produced it. So it was one of those things where like I had control over the full painting, from the instrumentation, the arrangement, everything. And yeah, in the documentary, she was the biggest person before I had a thought of what reality could be or what belief was. She was that for me because I know, uh, people may hear this story and may take it as a like I slighted my mom, but I understand where my mom was coming from on a emotional scale of like that's a lot. You have a child already, and my brother, her firstborn, and then you have another child here that you don't know is gonna be alive here from today and tomorrow. So I understood that, things were, and then money's tight, you know, things probably aren't perfect. Again, that perfection shit is just killer, bro. So it's like, I understand where she would get frustrated with me and might have had her moments. So for my grandma to pull her aside and say, hey, you know, I understand that. This is what you're going through and this is how you feel. But also know that the reality of it is that he himself not only is maybe not aware yet, but shouldn't be doing this,
Right.
you know? So don't take that for granted. And just know that regardless of what he does, there's a reason why he's going through what he's going through. So trust in God and trust in the faith and knowing that he's gonna be great someday. And literally what she told my mom was he's gonna do amazing things with his words. I don't know what it is, but he's gonna do something that's gonna change the world or affect the world. And here we are, 27, debut album. I'm really, I'm really out here. I'm really a rapper. And it all came full circle. And I figured it out. And so again, another just kind of mind blowing moment of like, yo, she spoke this shit into existence. Like
The power of the tongue is a real
the
thing.
power of the tongue is a real thing.
And that goes back to what you said, just from the last podcast to now, you want to perform X amount of times.
Yeah,
You
and do
put that
this.
into the
Hmm.
air,
Yeah,
and that's what came back to you. One of my tattoos actually says as above, so below.
yeah.
Just the power of the mind, and like we do have more control than
Don't we think?
yeah.
Absolutely. And it's tough to deal with starting out, but once you wrangle it in and kind of understand the concept of like, oh, like this is my world and other motherfuckers just live in it, it's a little selfish, yes, but unfortunately, to find, I feel like I mean, for me, I'm the biggest advocate for selfishness as long as it's righteous and it's from a position for, if that's what makes you happy, can't nobody tell you or label your own happiness. That's you. So if you want to be selfish and detach yourself and move a certain type of way, do it. That's what makes you feel better.
I've been called selfish a lot.
But you ain't hurt my feelings. You see, because
Yeah.
you put that wall up and you said, "Hey, this is what I'm willing to deal with. This is what I'm not willing to deal with. So this is how I'm moving." It's not selfish
Shut.
because you understood the assignment
Yeah.
and you understood where your values lie. So it's like, shit, when a motherfucker call me selfish, shh, maybe you need to be a little selfish and you might feel a little better and we might not be having this conversation that we having right now.
You feel me? Because I can tell you something. I was a lot more unhappy when I was unselfish.
Because I'm putting motherfuckers in front of me thinking that that's what it's supposed to be like, and it's not. It's not. Love is a mutual thing. Love is not something that's forced. And this is all also in the Bible. It says that. You know, love is something that is not as a transaction. It's something that's authentic, you know, and it's inside of you. It's not something you reward people with in a way that's a dopamine. That's not real love. Social media shit is not real love.
No, it's not.
It's not real love. That's gonna be it's not real love. That's gonna be the new it's not real love. Hashtag it's not real love.
Not real love. What we
Uh
gonna name this episode?
it's not real love. What's real love is what you do in the world. And that's again why tying it all up, you have to do something. Once you do something impactful and it means something to the world, that love that you may be searching for, that love that you may be in need of, all of that will come back to you. It's just about being a good person and being a little selfish. You know, it's okay to be present within yourself to make a better version for yourself. Now, if you're just within yourself to be self-centered and be a fucking asshole, then that's your problem to deal with. But karma's a bitch. And if you just being, that self-centered asshole, God will check you. God will pull your card just as he pulled mine in multiple different ways, in multiple different relationships. And you know, it'll work out how it's working out. But, if you remain true, good things come to those that remain true. And that has been nothing short of the truth for myself up until this point. So I'm forever grateful for all of the stories that I've been able to tell this far, all the people that I've been able to connect or connect through me, through the music. And I'm going to continue to do so, continue to move forward. And I say this in every set, at every show. I do this and I grab this microphone to show you that anything is possible, regardless of what people tell you, because somebody like me, from the word go, the the odds were stacked against me. But I'm standing here today. I'm here today to tell you that, hey, I know that's what they telling you, but look, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. So believe, 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 believe in yourself, and everything else will fall in place. It might not happen right now. It might not happen years from now. Bro, I just dropped this album a year ago, and I'm just now seeing the return on the album and these performances and
That's
meetings.
why you never stop promoting it.
Yeah, and it's like that's another reason. It's like I got to see that return, and it's not even a money value. It's you can't put a price on love. Love always comes back to who it's intended to come back to. Whether you're doing um the greatest thing in the world or you're just a simple being. As long as you're a good person and putting good into the world, it's gonna come back to you. So,
We're in the second quarter now. Um, we what's next throughout the rest of the second quarter
um,
and perhaps the year?
yeah, if I wanted to put a red carpet out there and just roll it out for myself, more music. I know that for sure. We got some things coming. Me, Low, a couple other producers that I've been intertwined with. Shout out my boy Lev. He's the newest addition to the family. Uh, Jizo. We got a couple of things, couple records that I produced for him that he's got ready to go. So I think that's just the music is always gonna be there. That's not gonna stop until it pops, and even after. Um, I definitely do want to start. Trying to, like I was saying earlier, try to pursue that tour idea. see where that'll go if I'm able to continue to get these shows racked up as I'm doing them. I don't think it's too far off. Um, Merch, that's a big goal of mine too. There's a lot of little goals that are leading to big goals. So, um, but yeah, those are the main things, just music, performing consistently. So hopefully not have to work this job that we was just discussing before the podcast. I ain't trying to be on a plantation no more.
Not at all.
I'm good. So yeah, just a lot of love, a lot of new music, and just being out in front of people doing that groundwork, brother.
Beautiful, beautiful. So on that note, please go ahead and let the people know where they can find you, um, what they can listen to, because you do got that new single with Esco out.
Man, yeah, that's actually a favorite right now for a lot of people. Fun one to perform. Alone, featuring me and Esco. You can find me on all social media platforms, JayVxSqueez. And on all digital audio platforms, I'm on Spotify, Apple Music. If you just search my name, JayVasquez, I'm there. My debut album, A Long Way From Home. And there's some dope singles in there, man. There's some
It
dope
is.
EPs
There's about 2, 3 other EPs in
yeah,
there.
there's a couple EPs in there. We got a little discography stacking up. So, check that out. Tap in with my guy, man. He's got a beautiful podcast going on right now. So, y'all witnessing the groundwork. I'm telling you.
Man, appreciate that. And once again, I'm your host, the one and only Zay B.
The guy. I'm Jay.
Yes, and I'd like to thank you once again, Jay, for coming through and like us having this one-on-one conversation.
Absolutely, bro. I'd love to do it sometime later on down the road.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see what that next chapter is looking like.
Hey man, it'll be a crazy one. But that is episode I couldn't tell you off the top of my head right now. Hey, I'll be working. You feel
Yeah,
me?
you have been pumping these joints. I've been seeing you, dog. I'm
Man,
like, man, this dude right here hitting the spam button.
hey man, look, you gotta see me. You gotta see us.
Yeah.
You feel me? That's how I look at it.
I'm
Like
proud of you,
you
bro.
thank you, thank you.
Proud of you, bro.
You know,
For sure. For sure, you a good dude, man.
appreciate that. But yeah, that's our show today. Once again, thank you so much, Jay, bro. It's been a pleasure to sit here and continue to, build upon our relationship.
Absolutely.
Um, and yeah, shit, at this point, I look at it as like,
Cut.
hey, look, cut before we get too emotional,
Hey,
nigga.
we gonna get 2 more episodes.
Oh God, hey, once again, this is your episode of the OTG podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're gonna head out. Um, please make sure you like, subscribe, and to tell a friend to tell a friend. This should have never end. And to make sure you stream A Long Way From Home.